Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, May 7th. Ian Cameron with you, solo edition once again for this Thursday with one game tonight in NHL Stanley Cup playoff action. Game 3 as the scene shifts to the city of brotherly love between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Philadelphia Flyers. Carolina up 2-0 in that series and looking to take a complete stranglehold of that series with another victory tonight. We'll preview that game in just a minute. We'll also first look back on last night's 2 games in NHL playoff action, and a thank you to everyone that joined us on last night's free-for-all free-for-all live betcast. It was a lot of fun. Good times as always, good group of people as usual. We did pretty well with a lot of the live bets last night. We did pretty solidly overall for the night pregame-wise. The only thing we didn't get right was thinking the game would open up between Anaheim and Vegas. Thought we'd see more goals in Game 2. We didn't necessarily get that. But other than that, no complaints. It was a pretty good night overall. Montreal-Buffalo, the first game of the night. Credit to the Buffalo Sabres. Nice job. 4-2 victory over the Montreal Canadiens. Game goes over the total. We cashed the first period over, both teams to score. So all legs of the over trifecta come through for us with the Montreal-Buffalo game. I think the one thing that stood out, and we talked about this in previewing the game last night, was that there would be an adjustment for both teams defensively. You know, you look at the way Montreal played a Tampa Bay team that's a little more plodding, doesn't to me have the team speed or the puck movement that we see from the Sabres. And boy, oh boy, when you turn that puck over against Buffalo, Montreal found that out last night in that Game 1 loss. They are gone the other way and likely getting a quality look against your goaltender. And believe it or not, I actually think in defeat, Jakub Dobeš played okay. You know, is there a couple of goals that you made? Well, he's not going to stop the Josh Doan 2-on-1. That was Hudson falling down in the neutral zone, turning it over, leading to the 2-on-1. I don't think you can blame Jakub Dobeš for that. The second goal, it was a great pass to McLeod at the side of the net. It's a difficult one for Dobeš to do anything about that. Yeah, you could say maybe the shot from Greenway, it was through a screen, but it did catch the glove of Dobeš and go in. Maybe that is the goal that you say that maybe Dobeš should have had that. But nevertheless, I actually thought he made some saves to keep Buffalo at 4 goals. So that's not a goaltending issue. I think it's just adjusting to the pace of the game, adjusting to just, I think, an increase in depth of scoring prowess. When you get a third line like Zach Benson, Josh Doan, and Josh Norris, Benson and Doan in particular, outstanding multi-point games for both of them last night, including Josh Doan with the bargain bin special of the night at plus 350. Cashing in for us. I wish I'd gone a step further, actually, and taken him to score the first goal of the game. I didn't do that. I only had the plus 350 for Josh Doan. But nevertheless, I was still very, very happy to cash that last night. And that line is just their energy personified. They're always on the puck. They are always tough to win battles against. Like, the compete level is just off the absolute charts for these two guys, Benson and Doan in particular. I mean, they have been great fits for this Buffalo Sabres team. And let's give Alex Lyon a lot of credit too, because I think Buffalo, I don't think they were, the shots were 11-1 at one point in the third period for Montreal. But if you actually watch the third period, a lot of the shots were not grade A chances. I thought they still defended pretty well. You know, I don't think a ton of those looks were, high danger, high quality necessarily. I thought it was still a pretty good defensive period. From the Sabres. Were they guilty maybe of sitting back a little bit too much? Yeah, possibly. But at the end of the day, I thought they were very solid as far as the goaltending from Lyon. And again, I don't think a ton of those Montreal chances in the third were extremely dangerous. And it was just a good win for Buffalo. And Montreal will be better, though, next game. There's no question. They needed that game to say, whoa, Buffalo's got a little bit more speed. They move the puck quicker. They've got players in their bottom 6 that can do damage. Tampa Bay didn't necessarily have that. It's an adjustment in Game 1. You would expect Marty St. Louis to make some adjustments, look at the video, and have Montreal in a better way to compete and win in Game 2 of this series, no question. But like I said, I think right now when you're looking at this series, it's to me still going to be a very competitive series, still a very long series. And yeah, that's got to change, Robert. And Ivan Demidov, put him in that category too, Robert. But Cole Caulfield, another night where you really couldn't notice him out there. You got through Tampa Bay doing this with Cole Caulfield struggling. And it's very simple. Caulfield did have a couple chances. He's missing the net. And that's not what we see from him when he's feeling it. When he's red hot and he's got the confidence, he's not going to miss the net like he has so far in the playoffs. And that's a confidence issue. And his confidence clearly has been shaken. There's no doubt. His confidence clearly has been shaken. And look, they're going to have to find a way to get him going, because I don't think they're going to be able to get him going, or I don't think they're going to be able to win another series without him making some kind of impact offensively. So that's going to be something to watch for moving forward. Second game was Anaheim Vegas, and Anaheim. This game was interesting. We were on the BetCast. Anaheim gets all these power plays early in the game, including a 5-on-3 for about 1:30, plus a 4-minute double minor for high sticking that was given. So they had a 5-on-3 for 1.5 minutes, and they had a 2 minutes after that because it was a 4-minute double minor for high sticking, and the power play couldn't have been worse for Anaheim. Like, they were passing the puck too much. They weren't shooting it. They were just way too deliberate, way too telegraphed. You give the Vegas Golden Knights penalty kill a lot of credit, too, because their PK was really good as well during those moments last night. But it was just way too deliberate from the Anaheim Ducks. And it was not only that they didn't score with the extended 5-on-3 and the 4-minute power play after that. It's the fact that they didn't generate much. And in fact, Vegas had a shorthanded rush or two during it. That's how bad that power play was. And my thought at that moment was, oh boy, is Anaheim in trouble here in game two, just completely wasting that opportunity. And to their credit, Vegas got their first power play right after that. And Vegas didn't generate a whole lot on theirs. And it was a good steadying the ship moment during that game early in the first period, that the power play was so bad for Anaheim. And then, of course, the Vegas power play was shut down the first time they had one. So I think that was big to kind of tilt the momentum back, get Anaheim to calm down a little bit, relax, just keep playing. And they did, and they eventually found their way to victory last night. And I thought in the second and the third period, I know Coach Q agreed with this assessment. That's about as good a defensive effort on the road as the Anaheim Ducks have had all season. I thought they played a very smart game. They played a patient game. That's very impressive for a young team to do that. Sometimes when you're involved in a scoreless stalemate for as long as that game went, you're eventually going to lack some patience and maybe take a chance you shouldn't and open yourself up for a odd man rush the other way and just have a breakdown that leads to a goal against. They didn't do that. They just stayed with it, played patient, waited for their opportunities, because Vegas is going to force you to play that way sometimes, especially now with John Tortorella at the helm, as head coach. You're going to have to be patient with some of your chances. And I thought that Anaheim was, and eventually they were rewarded. It was a great pass from behind the net to Beckett. Seneca. Great call by Robert Carlson, by the way, with Beckett Seneca, as far as, being able to get going for Anaheim last night. He liked Seneca to make an impact. He gets the first goal. Wonderful second goal by Leo Carlson. Kept it at 1-0 for a while. And then that insurance marker late in the third was a big one for Anaheim. And then when it was 2-0, there was a penalty against the Ducks, and Vegas had an opportunity to get back in it. And the commitment to block shots, there were two insane sequences where you wondered, how the hell did Vegas not score on that third period power play when they were down 2-0? But somehow they didn't. And they kept it and kept Vegas off the score sheet. It looked like Vegas was going to be shut out last night, and Lukas Dostal and Anaheim were going to get the shutout, but 6 seconds left, a late power play goal by Mark Stone snaps the shutout bid for Anaheim, but I don't think they're going to complain too much. 3-1 win for Anaheim. So we lose the overs, but we do hit with Anaheim plus 140. We did take Anaheim money line there. I did feel reasonably good that they could find a way to tie this series up. I thought they played well enough to win game one. The power play kind of let them down. To be honest, the power play wasn't any better this time around. That's still something they got to work on, Anaheim, the power play. It's got to get better long term if they're going to win this series. But last night, everything was even strength. The empty net goal put it away, and a nice 3-1 win. It was Terry that had the assist to Carlson on the second goal that really put Anaheim in the driver's seat. And like I said, it was definitely a nice pass and 3-1 victory for the Anaheim Ducks. And like I said, Vegas, once again, just like in the first round against Utah, they are only able to get a split in their first 2 home games in the series. Carter Hart was very good again. Very, very solid, even in defeat, no question. In fact, Anaheim had a bunch of chances, but like I said, Lukas Dostal was very, very sharp in net for the Anaheim Ducks, but so was Carter Hart. Carter Hart was excellent. And then Dostal, I thought, especially once Anaheim went up 2-0, some of those saves he made on the power play. There was also a one-timer in the slot from William Karlsson in the second period that he was able to get over and make that save. Dostal, he was tremendous. It was one of the best games Dostal's played all season. And that includes regular season and playoffs. I thought he was terrific last night for Anaheim. And I thought Hart was very, very good once again, even in a losing cause. So 3-1 Anaheim. The scene will shift last night for the victory, and the scene will shift back to Honda Center for Game 3 on Friday night with the series tied 1-1. Great stuff with the interview post-game on TNT with Lukas Dostal. He was definitely fanboying, talking to Henrik Lundqvist. There's no doubt about it. Talking about how I watched you growing up. And it's great to talk to you with a big smile. You could tell he was geeked is the word, to be talking to Henrik Lundqvist during that NHL on TNT postgame interview last night for Dostal, which was pretty cool to see that. And one thing I didn't know until Henrik Lundqvist mentioned it in the studio last night during that interview with Lukas Dostal, and I hadn't even thought of it, but yeah, it's obviously true, and it's a great fact to bring up. The resurgence of Czech goaltenders in the NHL. And look, we've seen some great goaltenders from, Czech Republic is what it was called back in the day. Now they're called Czechia. But we have seen a ton of great goaltenders from the Czech Republic. Dominik Hasek stands out. But there's been a bunch of others in the past that have been excellent goaltenders from that country. Not as much, I would say, the last 10 to 20 years, but now we're kind of seeing a resurgence. And Henrik Lundqvist brought up the fact that we have 8 teams left now in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and 3 of those teams have a Czech starting goaltender. Lukas Dostal for Anaheim, Jakub Dobeš for Montreal, and Dan Vladar for Philadelphia. So we have 3 goaltenders for the 8 remaining Stanley Cup playoff teams from Czechia. So we do have a little bit of a resurgence going on as far as the goaltending from that country, which is nice to see. And Lukas Dostal is definitely a big part of that, being the goal, maybe the biggest part of that, considering he started for his country, represented his country, and was the starting goalie in the World Hockey Championship last year when they won the gold medal. And of course, past February in the Olympics, he was the starting goaltender for Czechia. So we got a nice little resurgence going as far as goaltenders are concerned. A couple other thoughts just randomly here for this series. One thing I want to state too about Montreal and Buffalo. Buffalo won last night. You don't want to be too critical of a victory. I think Tage Thompson has another gear in him. I haven't loved his game the last few. I really haven't. I mean, I factor in Alex Tuch, Zucker, and certainly Ben and Norris and Doan, or Benson, Norris and Doan, as big-time factors for Buffalo up front. I don't think Tage Thompson's been a big-time factor the last few games. He's got another level to him that he can get to, and he's going to need to at some point. I think there's a big room for improvement right now for Tage Thompson for Buffalo. And the fact that they're winning with Tage Thompson, not having a major impact is probably a great thing if you're a Sabres fan for now. But I think at some point you're going to need to see him get rolling a little bit. I mean, he's got too much ability, too much finishing ability, too much of a skill set, especially for a man of his stature and size, to be as quiet as he's been, so far the last few games. So, like I said, we'll see what we get from Tage moving forward here in that series. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, Josh Doan, bargain bin special. And the first goal, I didn't have the first goal. I wish I had, but it was nice to cash the bargain bin special just for him to get a goal, which, as you said, was in that plus 340, plus 350 range as far as Josh Doan finding the back of the net last night. All right, let's get into tonight's one and only game in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Game 3, Carolina Hurricanes, Philadelphia Flyers. We got Carolina minus 160 road favorites, 5.5 the total. Carolina leading the series 2-0. I'm not going to deviate from what we've seen here in the first 2 games. We've clearly seen a pattern where there's goals early and then it kind of slows down. Both teams want to play protective defensive hockey first and foremost. Protect the net, defense first mindset when both of these teams get a lead. And a lot of times you'll see the teams, other teams, really push for another goal, a third goal, a fourth goal when they're up 2 goals. We have now seen 2 games where each of these teams have had a lead, in the series so far. Carolina had a 2-0 lead in game 1. They sat on the lead. They played defense first and foremost. And of course, that game ended 3-0 Carolina. Game 2, Philadelphia this time got the early lead, 2-0 in the first period. And then Carolina cut it to 2-1 in the first period. But even at 2-1 Flyers, Philadelphia with a lead was playing very much like Carolina did, playing with the lead in game 1, where it was defense first, don't take chances, nobody's pinching. Defense aren't going to be jumping into the play nearly as much. So we have seen a clear pattern here in this series where we've seen the goals early and then it slowed down after that. So my approach is quite simple. Over 1.5 first period, you get a nice plus price on it. It's 2-0 in this series already. We have seen certainly both teams, the most aggression that we have seen from both of these teams early in the series has been in the first, early in these games has been in the first period. There's no question about it. The first period, is when we have seen these teams, just be more assertive offensively. And then when either one gets the lead, then we see them kind of, like I said, focus on defending, managing the puck, not taking as many risks through the neutral zone, not taking as many chances. So that's definitely been what we've seen. So again, the first period over, it's 2-0 in this series, and it's rare you're going to get a price this good on the first period over. You can get it at plus 110, plus 115. I'm even seeing some books with plus 120 for the first period over 1.5 here tonight between these 2 teams. So I like that quite a bit here. And then at that point, if the pattern of the series stays true to form, it'll slow down after that. And you could probably, if you cash your first period over, then turn around and bet the under live in this game 3, because that's certainly been the pattern. As far as here's the thing. This is clearly a spot that you like to make a case to bet Philadelphia. Home team down 2-0 in the series, game 3 at home. Usually that's a spot you want to make a case for Philly, but I did that with Ottawa in the first round, game 3 at home, and they lost. And Carolina, again, you're talking about a team that's now 6-0 in the playoffs. Do you really want to bet the spot that badly with Philadelphia and go against a team that's 6-0 in the playoffs that's found a way to win every game? I don't know if I want to do that. And plus, we saw it in the first round too. Carolina, they were able to win on the road. This is a team that's been able to show they can go on the road, win hockey games. 2-0. They won both games in Ottawa to close out that series in the first round. So, like I said, I think this is going to be, for me, the only pregame bet I'm going to look at here is first period over. And then I'm just going to wait, see survey what's going on at that point. What I can tell you is if Philly has the lead at some point, and I didn't really jump on this in game 2, and I should have, was taking Carolina live, because we know they've got the ability to come back. Yeah, they look like they're on a mission. That's a good point for someone in our chat. I just have no interest stepping in front of the Carolina Hurricanes. I have no interest whatsoever. And I'm also worried about Philadelphia and the psyche a little bit. I mean, they've had a much better game 2. They had a 2-0 lead first period. They were the better team in overtime. They actually had the better chances in overtime. Travis Konechny, it's probably going to take him time to get over that missed net on the breakaway in overtime. That was their chance, no question. So, like I said, I think it's I worry about that because there were so many opportunities for the Flyers before Taylor Hall scored in overtime to end it for them to win that game, and they just missed those chances. They had more chances in the overtime than Carolina did. There were times in that overtime I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, Philly's coming close to winning this game and maybe sending this thing back to Philly 1-1. But nope, they just couldn't convert. on the many chances. You give Carolina defensively a lot of credit for that, and you give Frederik Andersen a lot of credit for that as well. I think his turnaround from the regular season to the playoffs has been spectacular, and you have to give him all the credit for that. He knows he wasn't good enough in the regular season. We all know that he wasn't great in the regular season, but what he's been able to do to turn his season around and play this well in the playoffs, give him all the credit for it. So the only thing I'm betting here pregame is the over here in the first period, and then we will go from there. That's the only thing side or total I'm betting pregame. I do have a bunch of props. There are a bunch of props that I like as far as shots on goal tonight. And look, I'm getting more involved gradually with shots on goal, even though I'm seeing Jonathan Davis in our chat earlier today bitching and complaining about shots on goal being taken off the board, taken away. That still bothers me. It's why I haven't really loved betting these props for the last couple of years. Sick of that bullshit, sick of that nonsense. But there are still some good opportunities tonight. I mean, Logan Stankoven, don't you just keep taking over 2.5 shots on goal for him? 6 games, all 6 playoff games, he's gone over 2.5 shots on goal for Stankoven. So yeah, all 6 playoff games, Logan Stankoven has gone over 2.5 shots on goal. And I'm looking at the number and the price here. Over 2.5 is -125, -130. Very reasonable price. How do you not just keep taking that? 6 playoff games for Carolina, and all 6 Stankoven over 2.5 shots on goal. Sean Couturier, I thought best flyer the other night for sure in game 2. I thought the captain led by example. You know, you want the captain to show up in a game like that when you lose game 1 and you get shut out. I thought he played a splendid game, even in defeat. Couturier, he's gone over 1.5 shots on goal in 3 straight games, including the first 2 games of this series as well. So that is definitely something to keep in mind as far as that goes. Rasmus Ristolainen, this is a bit of a surprise. He's gone over 1.5 shots on goal in 3 straight games from the blue line for the Flyers, including both games in this series. So keep that in mind. Shane Gostisbehere from the blue line for Carolina. Shane Gostisbehere over 1.5 shots on goal in the 2 games so far here in this series. So those are definitely some players trending pretty well with the shots on goal. Definitely my favorite by far is Stankoven. You know, finally for, I believe, the first game all playoffs, he didn't score in game 2. Doesn't mean I don't like the chances of him finding the back of the net again here. Hall, Stankoven, Blake have been their best line by far, Carolina, here in the playoffs. And that's amazing because, you know, Svechnikov, Aho, and Jarvis have not really gotten things going. So they're at the point now where Rod Brindamore's saying, thank God for Hall, Stankoven, and Blake. Thank goodness for them. No question. So, yeah, Couturier is definitely, like I said, that I agree. The chat likes Couturier over 1.5 shots. The price is still reasonable. He's led the Flyers in shots on goal. Rich H saying, yeah, and it's only -135, -140. You know, it's a good enough price to be able to look in that direction. Obviously, Taylor Hall point, you know, scored the game winner. Not only has he gotten a point in every game in these playoffs for the Carolina Hurricanes, it's also 9 of the last 10 games he's registered a point going back to the regular season. So Taylor Hall's just been a point machine for the Carolina Hurricanes. Jarvis is on a 3-game point streak. Jackson Blake has collected a point in 2 straight games in this series. The first 2 games, 4 of the last 5, 8 of the last 10 with a point for Jackson Blake as well. No question. But because I think Taylor Hall's got a good chance to score a goal, and instead of the point prop, I'll probably do the goal prop and the assist prop, which is an alternative to betting the point prop. You can bet the player to get a point, or you could make 2 bets on the player to get a goal and an assist. And the reason why I would like the goal prop is because I like the price on the goal prop, plus 400 for Taylor Hall. So if his point happens to be a goal, you know, you're getting a much bigger return. So that's why with Taylor Hall, I would rather go with, instead of the point prop, goal and assist with him. And there's a chance maybe he gets a goal and an assist. You'll cash both, and the return will be much greater than betting just for him to get a point. So that's kind of why I look for that sometimes, to bet a player goal and an assist rather than just the point prop at this time of year with certain players. But yeah, 6-game point streak for Taylor Hall. It's hard not to, and Blake, Stankoven. I mean, all those guys. How you don't keep betting props for those three with that second line being so good, and it's actually playing like Carolina's first line right now. They've been that good for them. All right, and then as far as goal props, like I said, Stankoven, Blake, Hall, Nikolai Ehlers, who was a great playoff goal scorer for Winnipeg last year. He's not been able to fully get it going so far, but he finally got on the board with that power play goal in Game 2 in the first period. So this could be Nikolai Ehlers starting to heat up a little bit as well for the Carolina Hurricanes here. Now, we do expect with Philadelphia backs against the wall, them to push a little bit, especially early in the game offensively. And Rick Tocchet looks like there's going to be some shifting in the lines. I'm seeing Forster, Dvorak, and Konechny. They need those guys to get going a little bit. Forster's been very quiet in these playoffs. I'm wondering if he's hurt and still not 100%. I'm starting to think that because he's had a real quiet playoffs for the Flyers offensively. And remember, he's coming back from an injury down the stretch. I would take shot, but Mishkov is with Zegras and Bump. Bump on the second line is someone that I think I would take a look at. Alex Bump has had a nice playoff so far for the Philadelphia Flyers, and he's going to be on the second line. So I think the Alex Bump look for the Philadelphia Flyers is definitely worth a look there as well, considering it looks like he's going to be slotted on the second line tonight for the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm looking at their power play formations here. Dvorak, Zegras, Konechny, Forster, Drysdale, their top unit. Couturier, Mishkov, Porter Martone, Denver Barkey, Rasmus Ristolainen, their second unit. Owen Tippett, by the way, is still out. He's missed the first 2 games of this series. He is still going to be out for the Flyers. And Noah Cates is done for the second round at the very least. Lower body injury sustained in Game 2 against Carolina. And he's going to miss at least the rest of the second round for the Philadelphia Flyers. So that's definitely not what they want to have. It's tough enough to beat Carolina, and now Tippett's still out, and now you've lost Noah Cates, who's a pretty effective forward for them for the rest of the series. So Bump would be the one I would take a shot with here as far as a Flyers props tonight on that second line for the Philadelphia Flyers. I've just liked that. I've seen that guy, step up and do and have a nice playoff so far. He got the goal against Pittsburgh in the first round. He's going to get the second line opportunity here tonight for the Philadelphia Flyers. So he'd be the one I'd be interested in for props on the Philadelphia side. Maybe Mishkov too, but it's just he's such a frustrating player, such an enigma at times, but he is going to get that opportunity up there on the second line. And like I said, Couturier as well. I thought, just because you're going to get shot attempts, you're going to get shot volume from him. You've had 5 shots on goal and 5 shots on goal from him in each of the first 2 games of this series, that it's hard not to look at Sean Couturier to be one of the Flyers to maybe make an impact for them offensively here tonight. If someone's going to do it for the Philadelphia Flyers, you would think the captain, Sean Couturier, has a chance to be that player. Great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Irish King looks like he's got we're singing from the same songbook, Irish King and me, with the baseball bets. I'm on that Twins Nationals over 9.5 too, which is looking like it's in good shape. And I think I have a piece of that Cleveland Kansas City over, and I think it was 3-0 Cleveland last I looked. So we're in good shape there with that so far with baseball. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. World Hockey Championship. I will dabble in it, Robert. That's usually what I do. I dabble in it. They're not strong bets. They're not anywhere close to the amounts that I put on the NHL. But I might dabble in it. We'll see. I will be watching it for sure. World Hockey Championship, May 15th. Definitely excited about that. It's not best on best because obviously the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are still going. It's not a true representation of best on best, but still have great rosters assembled for a lot of those countries in the World Hockey Championship. I've always been confused why they have it at the same time as the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think that's stupid, but at the end of the day, it's been a tradition that they've had the World Hockey Championship for decades in May in Europe, regardless of the playoffs going on. So, like I said, it's definitely a situation where it's a good temptation of best on best, because the playoffs are still going on. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Make sure you check out wizardsportspicks.com. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB on a daily basis. And, of course, Beyond the Lines videos. I'm going to be involved in a lot more YouTube content with Wizard Sports Picks YouTube channel. They now have daily live shows. There's daily content every day. So get to the Wizard Sports Picks YouTube channel. For me and the great handicappers there will be doing a lot of great content. We had Sniper Wes Clayton, one of the handicappers at Wizard Sports Picks. He does a lot of the content there on the channel. He joined us for a bit on the Betcast last night. So make sure you check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. And again, we're going to be doing a lot more video content. Again, profitable NHL and NBA seasons on the website, daily premium picks, long-term subscriptions available, wizardsportspicks.com. And of course, patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month, goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We will have 2 Patreon exclusive live Stanley Cup playoff betcasts next week. We're going to have 2 of them. Dates to be determined, but we will have 2 Patreon betcasts next week toward the latter part of the first round, and we will definitely look in that direction. So there you go. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. $10 per month. Again, your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. And yes, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Check out the store. Get your gear and your merch. Plenty of it available. Great time of year with the warm weather approaching. So check out the great merchandise and gear available at the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Robert, I am still deliberating. I have not decided if I'm going to pull the trigger on that. That's why I didn't bring it up. But I'm still thinking about it. I know it's been under full game in the first 2 games, but that has been a long-term. Not always does it win, but long-term it's been profitable more than it hasn't. And that's 2 games go under in the first 2 games of a playoff series. Venue change to the other building for game 3, and then that game goes over. It's happened quite a bit over the years. Not all the time, but it's happened quite a bit. And it happened in the first round with Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, involving this Flyers team. You remember that. Game 1 of that series stayed under. Game 2 of that series stayed under in Pittsburgh. Then it went to Philadelphia for game 3, and that game went over the total. And that's the same angle that's in play tonight with Philadelphia, Carolina. The first 2 games stay under, change of venue to Philadelphia for game 3, just like it was with Pittsburgh, Philadelphia in the first round. And, of course, that game 3 went over. Does this game 3 go over the total tonight? And you see that price with it. I mean, geez, +1. I mean, it's a great price. How often are you going to get over 5.5 at +120, +125? I'm even seeing +130 in some books with the over 5.5 tonight. So I'm thinking about it, Robert, is what I can say. Very much thinking about it. Obviously, if I like the over 5.5 and add it, it'll turn into a bifecta because I'm already on the first period over, which is 2-0. In this series. But check the Patreon card later. You'll know if I'm on it or not. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, and that angle is going to be in play tomorrow night, too, when we talk Vegas-Anaheim, Game 3. Same thing with that series. Game 1 under, Game 2 under in Vegas. We shift to Anaheim for Game 3. Does that mean over tomorrow night, Game 3? I'm going to be on the over for sure in that game, by the way. Angle or not, it's got nothing to do with that system. I will be on the over tomorrow night, Game 3, Vegas and Anaheim. I feel it in my bones. Honda Center, the games in the playoffs for Vegas and Anaheim. 7, 7, and 11 goals in the 3 games at the Honda Center in these playoffs with the Ducks at home. So I think that's your over spot tomorrow night. This one I'm more on the fence with, Carolina, Philly. But like I said, that angle is in play there as well. All right, bargain bin special of the night here for this Thursday. Of course, we had Josh Doan last night. Buffalo Sabres coming through for us with the bargain bin special of the night. Let's see what we can rock with here for a bargain bin special of the night for this slate. Let me just, I'm looking at the prices here for the slate tonight. It's going to be someone from Carolina for sure. Let me see here. Let's go with Jackson Blake. Jackson Blake for Carolina, plus 350 is the best price out there for Jackson Blake. Obviously, he's been on part of that great best line of the playoffs for Carolina with Taylor Hall and Logan Stankoven. And Jackson Blake is someone that has certainly been chipping in points throughout this playoff run as well. Now, he does have just the 2 goals so far, but he does have, 4 points so far in this series in the 2 games, 1 goal, 3 assists. Didn't score last game, but when you're on a line that's got that much chemistry, you're going to get chances, just like the other 2 guys have, Hall and Stankoven. And I think there's a chance that certainly goes in tonight. So we'll go with Logan. Not Logan Stankoven. Jackson Blake, Carolina, plus 350. We'll rock with that for my bargain bin special of the night here for this Thursday NHL. This one and only NHL game on this Thursday night. Flyers, Hurricanes, Game 3. Best bet? Well, by default, it's best bet because it's the one and only pregame bet that I've made, side or total. Give me first period over here. Over 1.5, plus 120, first period. Carolina Hurricanes, Philadelphia Flyers. This is 2-0 in the series so far to the first period over. And like I said, we have seen a noticeable pattern where teams are coming out looking to get that first goal, taking a little more chances to get on the board early. And then once the lead is established, we're seeing a little bit more of a slow it down approach later in the game. But 2-0 in the series to the first period over. We will ride it once again here tonight with the Hurricanes and the Flyers. So Carolina, Philadelphia, over 1.5, plus 120, first period for my best bet here for this Thursday NHL slate. And Robert, yeah, I mean, if I went with another shots on goal best bet like I did 2 nights ago with Ryan Hartman for Minnesota, it would be Logan Stankoven over 2.5 shots on goal. How do you not love that? I mean, 6 playoff games, and he's gone over 2.5 shots on goal, Logan Stankoven in all 6. So no argument with that whatsoever. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone that joined us here on the show. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you tomorrow on Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.